It is day 18 of me decluttering every single day until I feel less overwhelmed. Today we are back at the linen closet. So this cupboard is in my son's bedroom. It has all of our towels, all of our bed linen. It also has our toiletries and some medication, more like dressings, etc. Toilet rolls, a bit of everything in this cupboard. This is the cupboard of doom in my house. I've described this cupboard as being like my nemesis. I have tackled this cupboard several times before, but it keeps on getting like this. So I tackled this cupboard in another video in this series. I got around to doing the toiletries and that medication box, a few little other bits and bobs, but I only had a really small pocket of time then. This time I'm tackling it on a weekend and I want to tackle it properly. So I'm tackling this both by way of decluttering, but also organization. I want to get this cupboard tidy. My plan of attack is that I'm going to get some new shelves made to better fit this space so they go back further. And then I'm going to get some tote boxes to go in. So previously, our boiler actually sat at the back of this cupboard, and then we had some work done on our house about 4 years ago, and we had a new boiler put in downstairs in our utility room. So this freed up a bunch of space at the back of this cupboard, but the shelves didn't go back far enough to utilize that space. So what I want to do now is, using the existing brackets that are there on the side of the cupboard, I want to get some longer shelves made. I know if I go to my local B&Q, they have a facility where they will cut your shelves, like, or your wood, to size. You get less than like 2 cuts per piece of wood for free, and then they charge you for it, but I am totally fine with being charged for this service. I don't want to have to do it myself. I don't have the right kit for it either, as well as admitting that I think my skill set is not entirely there. It would take me too long, basically. So first thing I'm doing is getting these 2 shelves out and then measuring up this cupboard. There's also some pipes that I need to accommodate from where the gas and water was moved. So I've got to basically make sure that they can cut a wedge out of the shelves at the back there to accommodate those pipes. So now I've got my measurements and I'm getting everything else out of my cupboard. So I took my measurements and I went to my local B&Q and I found that their machine for cutting the wood was broken. They could not cut it. The next store that I could go to have this service provided was really far away, and I wouldn't have got back in time to make dinner for my kids, basically. And I had some pizza dough that was rising at this point in the kitchen that needed making into pizza. Plans were made, basically, and I'm doing this on a weekend, but ultimately I still have mum jobs to do, and it's still the weekend immediately before Christmas. So instead, I've decided, I bought some tote boxes. I got some great boxes while I was out, and I thought I'll just do the best I can with actually putting everything into boxes, and then we'll get the shelves sorted another day. It will have to be after Christmas. So I'm just hoovering up now because we have, so our house was built in the 70s, and the walls are basically filled with little polystyrene balls. That was their, I guess, attempt at insulation back then. Not terribly environmentally friendly, but also it means that when we had work done in our house, it just ended up like filled with these little polystyrene balls. And even though we have filled all the holes as best we can, and there's expandable foam, and then I have pushed like bits of paper in between all the little gaps that I can find, and we still get these little polystyrene balls find their way out. So I hoovered all of those up. And now I am just going through everything that we have in those cupboards and trying to work them into categories. So I want to have a tub that has like all the towels in. I want a tub that has the lesser used, like spare bedding for if we have someone come round and we're sleeping on our blow-up bed. Basically all of our like blow-up beds that we have, sleeping bags and stuff for the kids. I want all of those in a separate space. I want all of the spare duvets that we're not using that are in different togs for different seasons. The toddler bedding that we're probably, be putting on my youngest's bed in the next year when she moves out of the cot. And then have the stuff that we're using like every day. So the towels that we're using every day, the spare sets of bedding for our beds that need to be close at hand, like have all of that stuff at the front. and then have the stuff that we're not using so much at the back of the shelves. I managed to pick up the tote boxes from TK Maxx. It was so busy there, as it would be the weekend before Christmas. Lots of people who are panic buying their Christmas presents. And probably, I think I was the only one who was in the home section looking at boxes. These are actually laundry boxes. So I found a bunch of different tote boxes, but they just looked too small. And that was the nice thing about actually having the measurements that I had for the shelving. And I had a tape measure with me. So I was basically lining up boxes in TK Maxx and then measuring them with people giving me some odd looks. But I presume they knew what I was doing right. So this sheet, oh my goodness, I had to cut out a load of footage of me looking at the sheet because it took me so long. I couldn't find what size this sheet was. So this is a duvet cover, and I wanted to know, like, was it king size? Was it double? Like, is it, if it's king size, then I would just get rid of it immediately because then, the only king size bed is the bed in the master bedroom. We have our bedding and our spare bedding for that. We don't want any more for that. We just need double sheets for when we have people stay over. And we have a double duvet up in our loft in a little bag there that we have on our blurt bed. So, we are a small house. We have 3 bedrooms for the 5 of us. And when we have people stay over, it does mean that we ended up basically on a blow up bed, and usually we let guests have our bedroom. But we very rarely have people stay over the night. And I would absolutely love to have a slightly bigger house so that we could accommodate overnight guests. That would be awesome. My sister lives reasonably far away from us in Manchester, and my parents live in Norfolk. My in-laws live in Kent. So, like, everyone's a fair drive away from us, and it'd be lovely to have people like come and stay with us properly instead of having to stay in hotels. But it is what it is. And for us, the house is plenty big enough right now. So I basically ended up going around the houses a bit with this bedding. I chucked it in a pile to get rid of it. And then I decided, actually, I thought it was a double sheet, and I put it back in and got rid of the other one that we have. So eventually I made some decisions there. This blanket, which I am just putting out on the top of our stairs, is actually a blanket that my husband uses in the colder months when he's sleeping on a child's floor. I cannot sleep on a child's floor with my hips post childbirth, but I'm more than happy to bring a kiddo in bed with me. My husband's not so much of a fan of that. So at the moment, where our 2-year-old isn't sleeping terribly well, he has tended to sleep in her room, which she has a chair that folds out as a little bed. But still, my hips can't take it. So I ended up with a 4-year-old in bed with me last night. He had a fever and has a bit of an illness, viral bug going around. You can probably hear from my voice that I also have it. Thankfully, I don't seem to have got it as bad as him, but as expected, my immune system is a bit better than his 4-year-old immune system, bless him. So it was musical beds last night in our house, and everyone's feeling a little bit jaded this morning. But this is life with young people. And one of the things that I do find hard, it's the hardest thing about keeping on top of the house. I work 4 long days a week as a lawyer. With the kids being so young, 6, 4, and 2, is constant round of illnesses and events and things to do and things with them at Christmas time. There is so much going on. But actually, I found that carving out some time to get on top of little pockets of the house have been really helpful. But all that said, even though I have done the decluttering that I have done, even though I am feeling a little bit more on top of things, I still have a long way to go. And we did have an unannounced guest. So a friend of ours who doesn't have kids, and we'll forgive him because I think he just doesn't get how like manic a house can get in the day at Christmas time with kids. Knocked on our door, came in, popped over for an impromptu visit. And I must admit, as much as I loved to see him, I had a moment of pure like embarrassment when I opened the door to let him in. And the kids had been doing some crafting activities. They'd been making some snowflakes. So they'd had scissors out, been cutting. It was doilies actually that I found in the kitchen in the previous declutter. And I thought that would make a great Christmas crafting activity. I got them out, left them on the side for them to basically butcher with scissors, and they absolutely adored it. Like, they spent hours making these snowflakes in the day, but that meant lots of little bits of paper on the floor, which I am totally fine with because messes can be cleared up. And I love when the kids are doing little like crafting activities and really enjoying themselves. And they were having a lovely time. But, with me having spent time to sort this cupboard out, and my husband, as you can see him like around in the background, he's getting things ready for bedtime routine later. He's, up and down the stairs, taking washing, etc. He's busy doing stuff. Like he doesn't stop at the same time. The kids are doing their activities. Toddler needs a lot of input. And, we have a couple of people who are a little bit under the weather at the moment. And it just means that chaos, I think, just quickly seems to mount up. Still, we have too much stuff and we still need to minimize more. But there will always also be messes in the house. But I felt like when my friend popped over, obviously we opened the door, obviously we welcomed him in and we enjoyed the visit. We absolutely did. But I was kind of looking around the house thinking, oh, it is not the way that I would like to present it to guests. And if I just think personally, I always give my friends a little bit of warning, and I do wish my dear friend would just give like 10 minutes just to like kind of like, I'm in the car, I'm gonna head to your house. I would love to see you, no pressure if you're busy, but I'll see you in 10 if you're not, or I'll just, drop off the Christmas card if you're busy. And then at least that gives me like 10 minutes to run around and pack some things away. But anyway, we're not quite there yet. We are not quite at the point where I feel like people can come in the house unannounced and walk around the rooms and me not have that pang of embarrassment that things are not quite as I'd liked. Now, people don't come into this particular room and open this cupboard, but I must say that I'm getting to this point in this project where if someone came in my house and opened up this cupboard door, I feel way better about how it looks just for having it organized. And I think this will really help us in the future keep on top of things. Now, as I'm looking through this footage for this voiceover, I realized the bag that I've just put in there that has swimming stuff in, I didn't get everything out and take a look at it. And I think this is the thing still. I'm still, conscious I don't have like masses of time and I'm still just like doing the best I can. And I could have done with going through that bag. So there's still maybe a bit that I could go through and tidy up. So I thought I had got everything in the cupboard and realized I had this one last duvet, which kind of irked me because if I'm honest, like I stuffed this into the box, but with the other duvets in, but it didn't quite like 100% have sufficient room for all of the duvets. So that one looked a little bit overcrowded, but the rest of it I think is looking pretty good. I dare say like every area of the house, I will be able to go through it again at a later date and get rid of a few more things. But here is a reminder, right? Here's what we started with at the beginning of the day. And that is after having decluttered some things from the toiletries and medication from like the wound dressing box that we have at the top there. So go looking at it then and looking at how much and like how disorganized it was to where we got it to by the end of the day's declutter, I am like so happy with how this one turned out. Like it actually makes me feel a lot calmer. Like I look at that, the spare beddings at the bottom, the towels at the bottom. The swimming bag is at the bottom a bit more accessible because our kids do swim every week and we always need towels and stuff from that bag. So that does need to be a little bit more accessible. And then in the very back of that bottom like section, we've got the blow up beds, the sleeping bags, the things we use when we are staying over at someone else's house. We don't use them as regularly. At the top here, we use that window vac every day because we have condensation on the windows every day at the moment. The other box here with other bedding needs to be accessible, toiletries, and then at the top we've got our spare toilet rolls, we have got our wound dressings, etc., winter gear that we have there we might need if it gets colder, and duvets, other bits and bobs there. So I think that basically this came together great. We ended up with just the right amount of tote boxes. I'm so pleased. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.